Welcome everybody to another episode of Cleaning and Cocktails. You know the deal, what we do. We drink a little, talk a little bit of shop on the cleaning industry. I got my boy Brandon here with me. We're going to get a lot into him. But again, you know, you guys, it's not a cookie cutter show. What we do here is just share knowledge. We have a conversation. We go over what is been happening in our lives, what is happening in the industry, what's worked for Brandon. Allow him to share, drop knowledge. We have suppliers. We have people like Brandon who is subject matter, now a coach and mentor as well, manufacturers, technology founders, anything and everything to do with the cleaning industry, because our number one goal is to empower the space, level up each other, because this is a beautiful industry that is changing the lives of many, many Americans. And it's my passion, man. I love it just like Brandon loves it here. So you guys are gonna feel the passion. It's my opinion. I think you guys are. From us talking about what we love, and it's not just about cleaning, but it's about business. So without further ado, Brandon, thank you for taking the time to jumping on with me, and just sharing this hour of gem dropping. Nugget dropping,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Yeah. I love that you said we're going to share a passion. You know, we have to get the low, real sultry, the low sultry voice when we get in there. We're going to share a passion with you today.
No, I've heard you talk. Me and you have talked off camera before, and for people that don't know Brandon, we're going to get into his story, right? Where this guy knows not just our industry and cleaning, right? More so on the home services side. And again, we'll dig into that, but this guy knows business. This guy learned it on his own, self-taught, right? And it's amazing. I got notes on here that I want to talk about, Brandon, because again, there's a lot of journey and road to cover, but I really want to get to some heavy hitting stuff in the conversation. But to start off, man, why don't you, tell the audience, I know where you're from and I know your story, but give them, the introduction of how you are who you are and what brought you here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I literally was born into the service industry. My dad was a owner operator window cleaner. Long before I was even born, he started in 1978. I was born in 84. And so my whole life is filled with my memories of my dad being an owner operator window cleaner. So he was the guy in the mop, in the tools, in the bucket, on the ladders, going out every single day, cleaning windows as owner operator. And I kind of grew up in that. I started homeschooling through high school and worked with my dad full time, age 13, forward 40 hours a week while I was going through high school, and kind of carried that torch in home services, from my dad. And kind of a unique twist that happened was 2012, my dad was diagnosed with heart disease and was told that he couldn't work physically anymore by the doctor. And it kind of like shattered our family dynamic a little bit because, my dad had been doing this for 33 plus years and 40 years. And then now all of a sudden it's like business is over, and it was devastating for him. And so I actually took over the business from him in 2012 as owner operator, 0 employees, and then kind of like set out to grow the business from there, having no clue what I was doing. Never grew a business before, so I was very new.
But I gotta believe. I mean, you did it. You got into it with no bad habits, though, right? Like, I mean, you really didn't know better. Like, the one thing as you're talking, and I made a note of this myself because I heard you talk about this many times with people, is you guys heard him right where he said at 13, 14 years old, he was working alongside with his father, which I think is there's nothing better in life than to work with family like that at such an early age, Brandon. So
for sure.
Again, I think I made a note, you were homeschooled, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Again, so it's like, that's not that's a variable or a factor, but I know when I grew up, it impacted my life a lot. To have, a lot of friends and be a part of an education system at that point, right? I didn't know any better. That's what I knew. But you coming from a homeschool, did that allow you, do you think that gave you a little bit more of focus or like discipline on, there was not that there wasn't any distractions, but did it help you kind of with your mindset from that early on, having such drive?
The couple things that it did. So I did go through school up until high school, public school, and then transitioned to homeschooling. And we had a really good friend circle that was outside of school. So we had our church, our community. I had lots of friends, our neighborhood. I lived in a cul-de-sac, and there's like 24 kids in our cul-de-sac. So, literally every day after school, we'd all be outside playing, baseball in the cul-de-sac and riding our bikes and, doing all the kids stuff, right? So I still had that part. I wasn't completely reclusive, but the biggest benefit to me was I worked alongside my dad 40 hours a week inside customers' homes and talking to these homeowners. And, some of our customers had some really, really nice homes. So it was cool to kind of like, hey, what do you do for work? What do you do? And just kind of learn and expand a little bit more. And I think it kind of gave me a little bit of an edge, not only to earn a little bit more income from a younger age, to be able to work through high school, but it also really kind of taught me the value of, strong work ethic and serving the customer at the highest level. And those are things that have carried me through that, those principles have carried me through for years.
Dude, and Brandon, I feel, think about how important it must be then, because I got to assume you built relationship building skills at 14, 15, 16 years old.
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
And I was very social in high school, very social in college, but I really didn't know sales from a relationship building component till I graduated college. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm 23, 24 at that point. It took me a little bit of a long time to graduate college. But you at 14, 15, 16, by the time you were 18, I got to believe you had a toolbox of knowing how to read people and understanding how to serve the customer.
I knew how to run an owner operator business extremely well. That's the big thing that, my dad, he had a mindset that no one could do the job as good as him. He was the artisan. He was the craftsman. He was, wicked with the squeegee, right? He just knew everything and knew all the customers' names and their kids' names and their dogs' names and their house, alarm codes off the back of his, everything lived in his brain. And so it's interesting when I took over the business, I had to grow the company because at the time when I took over the business, my dad had no retirement in place, no savings, no secondary income. And when he was faced with having heart disease, the business was over. He had a bus factor of 1. If one person got hit by a bus in his company, business is over, either metaphorically or literally. And for him, it was he metaphorically got hit by the bus. And so that was kind of a really eye-opening moment for me because up until that point, I went and did a couple of my own little entrepreneurial ventures and, tanked a business here or there before I came back to my dad in 2012.
You failed forward.
That's right. I failed forward. And so, when I came back and took over that business, I had to, basically buy the business from my dad so that he could retire. So the business was doing about $8,000 a month in revenue at the time. And I promised him $3,000 a month for life, so that he could just retire. He could start getting Social Security. He's in his 60s. So that's how we could kind of make that switch and that transition. So I was kind of placed into a position where instantaneously I had to force myself to figure out how to grow a business and get a team and start, putting together resources, which was all brand new for me. And that was the challenging part.
Oh man. So again, this is great segue into, I feel like what is one of the most important pieces of building a business is building that team. So up until this point, Brandon, right? It's your father, it's you. What you probably saw, right, was your father wore all the hats. He did everything, right? That's just, and my father was the same way. Oh, dude, my father, when I would walk into the office and he would walk in, he's like, "Who's that? Why are they? What are they doing? What? Did you hire them? Why are they good? How do you know they're good? So what's that? Oh, is that a new van? Rick, what did you spend on that?"
Yes. That's funny, man.
But you learn that's passion. That's one characteristic that we should have as leaders and business owners. But this now starts to lead to so you take over the business from your father. You promise him, which, dude, kudos to you. That shows where your values are, that you put that weight on your shoulders to promise your father. hey, you didn't work all these years to
Yeah.
not see something,
Yeah.
which is a whole other topic that, again, small business owners, I feel like they're so involved that they forget, like, pay yourself a decent salary, put that money somewhere else, like use this initial business to launch other businesses or, invest that money. But now team building, which we could spend forever on. What was, as you took over, like what was there the right first person you wanted to hire, Brandon? Or like what did you?
Oh man. The first hire that I had, I had no idea what I was doing. Right. So I promised him everything. Super green. I was like, we're going to build this company. We're going to be huge. You're on the ground floor, baby. Like, this is going to be amazing. And then like less than a year into it, he's like, well, so how much equity do I get in this company? Like, where's my 401k? Where's my benefits? And I'm like, dude, we just got started. Like, it wasn't even like a year. It was like 6 months into it. I've made every single possible mistake you can make when it comes to employees. And I remember the first few employees that I hired, my dad at one point in time had like, one helper, right? Like I helped him. Never had more than like one single employee. And so when I hired like my second employee and my third employee, my fourth employee, he's like, Brandon, what are you doing? Like, are you sure you want to grow this big? Like, this is, there's a reason why I kept it small. And any issue that I had, if I had an employee quit, one point in time, over half of my team quit on me when we were booked out for 2 months solid in the middle of our busy season. Half my team quit within about 2 weeks of each other.
Oh my God.
And I had my first panic.
Gotcha. Oh, it's anxiety.
Yeah. And I remember telling my dad that story and he's like, well, this is exactly why I didn't have employees. I'm like, great. Thanks, Dad. This is
thanks for the support. Yeah.
So, I quickly realized that, the people who you choose to surround yourself with, and I love my dad. He, this is the way that he, thinks and the way he lived his entire life. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that mindset, but I had to pay for his income and my family and my newborn children. Like I had to grow this business. And so I had to surround myself with other people that were doing big things. And, the community part of it was something that really kind of helped me make that shift. I went out and got a mentor, got a coach, and, really started working with someone, to help me kind of break some of those self-limiting beliefs that I didn't have to do it all on my own. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you one quick story. One of my mentors, I sat down at her desk and I was talking about like hiring people and, it's like the whole blubbering mess about everything that was wrong with all my employees. And she had me write down the word control on a piece of paper. And she's like, all right, Brandon, I want you to tear that piece of paper in half. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Oh, tearing, yeah, control, let go of control. And she's like, yeah, do it again. Like fold in half, do it again. Like did it again. She's like, keep going. And she's like, make as many tiny pieces out of that piece of paper as you can. And I was like, tearing this up like this. And I started crying in front of her at her desk. I'm like, yeah, this is weird. I don't know why this is happening right now. So just, it was one of those things where, I realized that in order to grow a team, I have to let go of control and I have to just kind of, let go of the control that my dad held on to, himself and just kind of make that transition. So once I did that was really kind of when the business started kind of taking off and growing.
Brandon, so let's talk about real quick, because I forgot to go back a little bit before we got to you taking over your father's company is obviously, like I always do, I did a little bit more research on yourself, even though I know you, right?
Facebook stalking.
A little bit of LinkedIn stalking, but like I saw, and because I try to build the journey and the trend, because what I like to do is like, where do people come from? How did they get to be successful in this role? Was it by chance? Was it whatever? But I saw, again, you started a business very quickly from at 18, I think. I saw the business begin. That was your first attempt, I think. Then I saw you jumped in, I think, to corporate America in some capacity, right? Like you were,
yeah.
What was that? Sales, right? So, okay, you're learning entrepreneurial small business ownership from your father. You're seeing it firsthand. You're involved. Then you got sales. You were there for a minute. You're learning the sales side, which I think is the most important characteristic for us as the business owners.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Right. And I think from there you started your marketing agency, which I think is pretty interesting to know who you are today and what you're doing today and kind of our discussion that we had before we jumped on, that creative piece, man, I feel like that is a differentiator, in my opinion, with a lot of business owners, is when they know how to be creative and design and be a marketer, dude, it 10x's your company, because now you know, which I hope you know, right? Is like you're a brand, right? The Brandon Vaughn is a brand. Brandon's companies are brands.
Right.
But you may not have known you were doing that when you did it, but you did it and you are, right?
Right.
So like it all led up to, you said 2012, you took over your father's business, but like now let's get right back to that point again. But did that experience also help you? Because I know you said you failed on many things, but dude, being a marketer, being a sales guy, like talk about how that started to stack the chips for you in your favor.
Yeah. So my 30-second history was I started up my own construction company right in 2007, 2006, which was I forgot about that one. Ever to do it. And that was, I was running a terrible business person. I mean, just absolutely, hand to mouth, went through that. We lost everything. We lost our house. I crashed and burned hard. And then I was like, I'm done with entrepreneurism. I'm going to go get a job. And I went to a corporate company, invented some cool tools, learned sales, and actually just kind of got to see firsthand how a larger multi-million-dollar company runs. And they use Google Sheets and they make budgets and they like do things. I was like, what? So that was actually really pivotal for me to be able to see like how a larger company operates from the inside. Because the only business that I worked in was my dad's and my own. That was it. So then when I was traveling all over the place, they wanted me to travel 50% of my schedule. I quit and decided to open up my marketing agency where I just taught myself HTML and CSS and built websites and did graphic design stuff. And, I was in the middle of that leading right into 2012 when my dad called me and I was like, well, I'm just going to abandon this and help my dad out. But it was actually me doing my own design and my own brand and my own marketing. Yes, it was cool to see on the creative side. I was just good enough to be dangerous, but not good enough to be an expert.
Yeah.
And I was so thick in the DIY death trap of just like, well, I'm not going to pay someone else to design my logo. I'm going to design my own logo. Yeah. I'm not going to pay someone else to do the website. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay someone else. And it actually held me back for a period of time because I was so used to doing everything and felt like I had to do everything. Delegating the creative side of it to someone else on my team and to experts that were even better than me was one of the biggest turning points for me where I finally started leveling up as an entrepreneur. So it definitely taught me some things to know and recognize BS when I see it, when it comes to marketing, branding. Yeah. But there's only so many things you can purely be an expert as a CEO. Like I feel like as founders and CEOs, we have to know a little bit of everything so that we can't let people tell us something and we're just like, oh, okay, sounds good. And we're like held hostage in our own company. Yeah. But we have to be able to recognize, and bring people that are smarter than us into our team so that we're not the smartest person in our company.
So what was the result of you taking over and then getting to where you are with Conquer, right? Like what was the end result? Like, prove it out for us. Like what ended up happening? So, with my cleaning business, in about 5.5 years, grew that from 0 to 70 employees. We were doing $500,000 a month in the business. While I was growing that business, I was very involved in social media, spoke at lots of different events and ended up having a lot of people. I started getting between 15 and 30 messages a day. I'm sure you know this. Yeah. Of people are like, can you help me? Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? Can I pick your brain? Here's my cell number. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it started getting overwhelming. And so I really saw an opportunity because I had personally spent 500 to 1,000 hours creating all the systems and just really honing in our business and all these documents, tools, and templates. Everybody in home services was doing the exact same thing. They were building them on their own. Mm-hmm. And so that's what kind of led to this epiphany moment of me where it's like, I need to find a way to be able to collapse time for all these entrepreneurs. They can use my systems, my resources, my documents, I'll package them up. And then I got to go out and find way more coaches. And so that's what kind of led to me forming Conquer
And, now with Conquer, we have, 35 plus certified coaches that all have built their own 7 and 8 figure service businesses. And literally we just like have those coaches meet with our conquerors on a weekly basis and help them just implement and execute and put those things together.
So Brandon, I want to unpack that just where, like, if you guys are listening, right, which everybody should be listening. So, what you just said is you kind of use the same processes that you did for your cleaning company, and you're doing it in Conquer, but it's a different product or vehicle, I would say, because what you learned early on is you cannot be the smartest person in the room for the cleaning company that you built out, so you delegated and hired correctly. You're doing the same thing with Conquer, where you're not good. You can't be one coach and coach everybody. You need other better coaches, or just in different. Everybody's got their own sweet spot and talent. So if you're listening, guys, it's like it's not that it's rocket science, right? Like you're figuring it out, and you have figured it out, and now it's like you're kind of giving back to everybody, and that's why I appreciate and I watch and follow you, because there's a lot of bad advice out there. There is a lot of bad coaching out there where it's like, you need to hear it from somebody who has shared experience, right? And you have to have diversity and a variety of different coaching or styles and stuff like that. So I'm infatuated with the coaching component because it's lonely as a business owner, right? You know that. It's lonely. I mean,
it's so lonely.
It's so much help. It's so much better to have a group or a community or a peer, because nobody goes through some of these things as a business owner, even your own team. Like, you need to bounce things off of another fellow founder or fellow business owner
100%.
Versus your own team, because there's only so much you can tell your team, right? Like, one thing I wanted to ask you, Brandon, before we get deeper into Conquer and these other map to a millions, everybody, I said that, you better be ready, because we're going to dig deep into that. So, but like, how did you, or talk about, not that you have to convince, but how did you motivate and make a good impression to the rest of your team when you started growing the cleaning company and you realized, I need to hire from outside, I need to build a team I need to hire experience, where a lot of family owned, in my position, or my opinion, right? A lot of family owned, smaller businesses, if there's a core team, that core team can sometimes feel vulnerable, or what's the word? Like, I can't grab the word, but just, do they trust that person? Who's Brandon bringing in? Are you sure we need that person? I could do all this work myself too. And it's like, you want the mentality to be, the bigger picture is, how do we all get bigger, better, and get, what's the most important part that you always talk about too, is how do we get time back in our life without working 24/7?
It's funny because I used to use the word family all the time with my team, all the time. We're a family, we're this. And it's interesting. Someone actually broke my brain. One of my mentors, he says, family, when the word family is used to describe a company culture, it can actually have a cancerous connotation. I was like, really?
I've heard that.
Yeah, we're families, we're teams. You don't fire your brother or your sister or your cousin. You live with them, do or die. Blood is thicker than water, no matter what. That's no way to run a business. Business can fail if you run a business like a family. You run a business like a team that's designed to win Super Bowls. And you have to cut people on the team. And everyone is performing at their level. And they understand that if they don't perform, they can get cut off the team. They're not getting, expelled from their family. And someone is like, it's not a traumatizing type of an event. It is something that is like, we're a team, we're designed to win championships and win Super Bowls. So because of that, it's really shifted my paradigm when I think about who I hire, how I hold my team accountable. And, you have family members that work for you. And I did as well. It brings a different dynamic into the relationship. It's a little tricky to navigate. And some families can make it work and some families can't make it work. And no matter what, it's an extra dynamic that makes it a more challenging environment to sometimes navigate, because it's like, okay, you had to, bust someone up, discipline them, shoot them straight, and then like you're over at their house for dinner later on, that night.
Oh,
it's like,
man, dude, that is, I've heard, but the way you just broke it down, I'm going to have to cut this or cut and paste this into our company. Because dude, I love that we feel that family effect, but I definitely see what you're talking about. Like
you can now when you see the championship, teams and you're in the locker rooms and you see the guys and they're hugging each other and they have, they got each other's backs. And when you see military units and their teams and they're like a band of brothers, like that high performing unit that you create can feel familial, but everyone has this level set understanding of exactly what this is. It's not family. It can feel like family and it can feel close, but they understand that if they don't perform at that level, there's no hard feelings if they have to leave.
Ooh.
Because everyone sees the benchmarks. They see the standard. They see the leaderboards on the walls that say from first place to last place. And everyone knows who's at the bottom of the totem pole in the company when it comes to performance and their KPIs. And everyone knows what they're responsible for. And they understand. I mean, when I hired family members and friends, I'd have to sit down and I'd have to say, hey, let me tell you every reason why I'd fire you. And I'd list every single one.
And it's every single one. It's out there. It's out there now. Now you know.
It's out there. And this is why I'd fire you. And I will fire you if we don't hold this, because we are a team. We're a family. We're friends outside of here. But in here, we're a team. And you either make the team or you're cut from the team. This doesn't mean that I love you less. It means that this unit you don't perform correctly in, and it's not the right working environment for you. And let me tell you, if you're not performing at the level you need to perform, you're not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy. We'll both want to part ways because neither of us will be enjoying it. So, it's actually a good thing if it's not a good fit. And it's like you free to go pursue other opportunities.
Good.
Right?
Damn, that was a solid 2 minutes right there. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Sorry, I swear.
That's the sizzle reel that you're going to put on your Facebook. That's the sizzle reel, yeah.
Dude, no, Brandon, that's so as I think now real quick, I came from the mortgage industry and I remembered it was very competitive, right? Dominic, who's my our COO of the company, and Jay is a partner in another company. Those were my bosses and my mentors when we were in the mortgage company. And what they did was there was a big whiteboard. There was teams with team names. We were pods. We were groups. We were,
that's right, man.
We were the loan officer assistant, the cold caller, the telemarketer. It was a pod, but I remember we felt like a family in the company, right? It was a culture of family, but we were competitive. We were teams.
It's
teams
because you were all high performers.
High performing. Yeah. You saw that name and you were like, damn it, I'm not at the top. What happened to our team? Who do we got? Who's low hanging fruit? Who do we got to pick it up? Damn.
So when you set this standard in your company, by the way, one of the questions you asked, which is a really good question, I get asked this a lot, is if you have to bring in an outside hire, how do you not demoralize the rest of your teams? You do them by performing regularly scheduled performance reviews. And one of my favorite questions in these performance reviews is, hey, what do you want your next position at this company to be, even if it doesn't exist yet? And so, you'll have your technicians, your cleaners, your managers. They'll be like, a cleaner will say, I want to be a foreman. I want to be a production manager. I want to oversee. I want a management position. Okay, great. Let me tell you all the reasons why, or all the things I'm going to be looking for when I hire that individual, and why I might go with an outside hire versus promoting you into that position. If I'm going to promote a technician or a cleaner into a manager position, they're going to have to do their checklist every single day. Always show up in uniform, never be late, be a top performer, always wear their safety stuff. They have to be the most compliant employee of all of our systems and all of our rules and SOPs of any other employee, because if I promote you into a production manager and now all of a sudden all your other cleaner cohorts are now direct report to you, and you tell them, hey, you got to make sure you do your checklist. And they're like, dude, you didn't do the checklist. You didn't wear your safety stuff. You didn't put on your respirators when you're working with chemicals. You didn't check to see if you have SDS sheets in your carts all the time. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Then you're going to have zero credibility. Whereas if I make an outside hire of someone who is a professional manager that can come in, then that dynamic's not going to be there. And so if you want this role, if you want to be considered, your revenue per hour has to go up. Your checklists have to be completed every single day, all these things. And now they understand why they wouldn't get promoted, as opposed to just hitting them out of the blue when the new manager comes in and all of a sudden they have a new boss.
Oh, so man. Nice.
That's a big, all conflict is unmet expectation. And so any conflict you have with your team or your lower team members, is an unmet expectation that they thought they deserved X when they are never told they had to do ABC to even get to X. Like, so, really clearly laying that out, having a certification program that can take a cleaner all the way up to a position and what's required and what steps they have to go through, what management courses they have to take. Like, I've made way too many mistakes over the years of promoting technicians to managers and have it totally backfire.
No, and I'll tell you, Brandon, I'm living that world right now. Not me personally, right? But like the company, so it makes me feel, I smile a little bit. And I'm happy because some of the things you're touching on is what the team is going through. They're like, all right, what we did in the past got us to where we are. Now we do need to identify. You know what I see is I see the good engagement from the teams is when they're included in the decision, right? When it's there, when they come together to say, we think we need this. Here's that here's that profile. Whether it's we check to see if it's within the company, we can do it, or if we're going to go look outside, here's the checklist. But it's when they bought in because they're doing it together versus being told. Because one thing, Brandon, I think a lot of people probably struggle with. I know I struggle with on Rosalato and on Route now is I'm great at things. I'm good at some things and I'm bad at some things. Mm-hmm. And when I have to hire certain positions that I was not good at, or it was not my forte, how can I monitor or hold that position accountable to any standard? Like, for example, I'll throw one, like CMO, right? A chief marketing officer. Mm-hmm. I know marketing by instinct. I don't know it by, how do I hold them accountable to know they're meeting their job performance? Like, who fills that?
Yeah. So this is really where a consultant can help to bring, someone in that understands, there's sites that you can go to right now where you can meet with, marketers and you can pay them for an hour of their time for $500 and you can like understand and ask them questions and pick them questions. But I'll tell you, like for CMO positions specifically, you need to have all the KPIs dialed out where you as the CEO, as the executive is going to see, okay, I want to see exactly on a weekly basis, what's our cost per lead, our customer acquisition cost per channel, what our closing ratios are, exactly what our spend is, what our ROI is on each one of these channels. We have to see a lead volume and make sure that it's increasing, and just dial in all those metrics and those numbers. And then it's all in instrumentation. Everything is instrumentation. As CEOs, we need to be able to see the executive summary and look at our dashboard and hold our team accountable to those numbers. Not just look at the dashboard and have it, but actually meet with each one of your departments, marketing, admin, production, sales, maps, meet with your department head. So your marketing, chief marketing officer, you're meeting with on a monthly or a weekly basis, and you're reviewing all the instrumentation and holding them accountable to hitting those numbers. And, what's the standard? What's the minimum baseline we have to be at? And, the KPIs are everything. That's key performance.
Because I feel like Brandon, like by saying that, at first it's daunting, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I got to meet that. I got to do that. I got to do this. But I got to believe what you're saying too is the fact that let them do their job. You don't have to be there every day over their shoulder. They're going to perform because those KPIs are going to show you if they performed. And it's really like, let them be free to make decisions and do good for your business, right? So it's not too much.
The other thing
micromanaging.
Right. Here's the other thing that's kind of crazy is that, we said it earlier, the team that gets you here is not the team that gets you there. So your marketing manager that got your company from $0 to $1 million is not the marketing manager necessarily that's going to get you from 1 to 10 or from 10 to 100. Like there's different skill sets, right? So you have like an $80,000 marketing manager. And then you have a $250,000 marketing manager. And then you have a $500,000 with equity and, options and who's looking at an eventual exit in 4 years. And like that person has experience in taking SaaS companies from 10 million to 500 million. And they know exactly how to do it. That person's not going to come into your company and you're not going to be like, okay, well now I need to see your KPIs. Yeah. Like they'll tell you exactly what the KPIs are. And they have incentive and they have stake in the game to where they're going to deliver for you because they're equally as incentivized as you are to reach the end goal. So, it's just, there's different phases of team members that we have. And too often in my business, I would just promote people within, which feels great. It feels amazing to be able to take someone from here and get them to there. Mm-hmm. But when you have a team full of people that you've coached into a role and you've taught them everything that you know, guess who's the smartest person in your company? You.
Yeah.
And that is the worst place to be in. Steve Jobs says, I hire smart people so that they tell me what to do. I don't hire people so I tell them what to do. I want people to come in and then, 1 + 1 is 3. I don't want to be like 1 + 1 is 1.75 now. You don't, and it's kind of a mental shift, especially as you start getting to the 8 figures to 9 figures range. You really have to start looking at these executives that have already done exactly what you want to do. And then your job is just to be the visionary to get them onto the team and show them the path and show them the foundation and then incentivize them to get the same incentive as you. And that's it.
Dude, look, I don't even know where we went with this conversation. Now, well, I'm sorry, everybody, but dude, what we just talked about.
Real deep.
So people that understand, and we're still talking about the cleaning industry. So everybody knows, this is what Brandon's so good at on the systems and processes side is everything he's talking about right now is a part of our journey of building a business in our space. We're service based, we're pandemic proof, we're recession proof. There is so much opportunity where don't think a lot of this stuff is oh, that's not me. That's no way. I can't do this, can't do that. It's not in my wheelhouse. A lot of this is, right? And a perfect segue into, we talked about Conquer a little bit, but I want to get to Map to a Millions, because I feel if people don't, a lot of people may or may not know what Map to a Million is, but it's a series of videos that Brandon created, correct me if I'm wrong, 2021? Or
2021.
21.
Yeah, last year, January of last year.
January of last year, and this guy, all right, it's something to say and talk about. I got this idea, I got a concept, I'm going to do this, it's going to be cool. But you lived out a journey of starting from an idea and showing people, proving to people, it could be done by systems and processes. And I'll stop there because I think, you're going to be the one to better talk about it. But talk us through what the whole Map to a Millions is so people know.
So I wanted to, it was honestly kind of a challenge in some way. I am at no means undercover billionaire Grant Cardone level by any means. I'm not a celebrity. I'm like a D- celebrity at best. No A-lister.
Come on, C. Give yourself C.
But I had this dream for years that I wanted to, document growing a brand new business from zero and document it to a fully automated 7-figure company. And that's what Map to a Million was. I picked an industry I have no experience in, which is garage floor coatings, which I've never done a garage floor coating in my life.
Great niche. Great niche. I just got my garage done.
Nice. I wanted something that was a different type of model altogether. And I wanted to not utilize any of my existing contacts, not answer any of the phone calls, not do any of the work from day one, and only focus on hiring and building a team and putting systems in place. So when I started the company, I literally just downloaded Basecamp, which is our resource of all of our systems in Conquer, and I just put them into a Google Drive and boom, all of our systems were done, basically. So it's kind of a cheat. And that's kind of the point too, is look how fast you can
cheat. You can cheat.
Yeah. You have your interview questions, you have your checklist, you have your, vehicle maintenance inventory, checklist, et cetera. And so downloaded all that. And then basically from day one hired 2 employees, and then quickly to 3, and started out with a really small startup budget of $15K and that included all of our branding, our wraps, our website, our initial marketing budget. And we went from $0 to $100,000 a month in 4 months. So we hit $103,000 month 4.
Damn.
And then we did $1 million our first year. And then we're in year 2 right now, and we're on track to do $6 million this year in 8 locations. So I hired actually brought on a chief operating officer, and we franchised it in April of 2021.
2021, okay.
Yeah, or May of 2021. And then we had 8 locations by the end of the year. So it's been a crazy ride, man. I mean, it really has been. But if you want to go watch it, you can go to Map to a Million on YouTube, and I have 16 episodes. We're coming out with season 2. We have episodes that are in the recording studio right now, or editing studio. And, we document the journey of picking out the company name, putting the systems in place, hiring the first employees, first jobs, step by step, kind of how we did it. And it's been a blast. It really has been amazing.
Dude, it is. When I first came across it, I watched a little snippet. I was like, oh man, I got to make a note. I got to spend some time to watch this next time. And when I started seeing the episodes, like, you guys, it's no joke. Like, he documents the good, the bad, everything of what we normally feel like, oh man, if people only knew what I go through, and this is hard, and like, oh my God, I can't hit my numbers. I can't. But a lot of the times our barriers are ourselves, and not allowing a system to take over, right? You're always afraid of nobody can do it better than us. You prove it out. That's what I love. Right. Is the fact that you documented it. It's a proven. There's nothing anybody can take away from you. Like, it's documented. It's in the cloud. It's out there. It was done. And dude, mad kudos to you, man. Because
thank you, man. Thank you.
That really, I feel like more people should watch that. And I got an idea for us together to do something. But
I'm down. Let's do it.
Like, dude, that really makes it real and human. It brings it back to a position where people can say, that's me. I'm going through that today. September 9th, 2022. Dude, there's nothing better than just authenticity, to where it wasn't a TV show. It's not that TV shows are fake, right? But to me, it was like a reality show, man, to be honest with you. Like, you really did show people this shit. I appreciate that, man.
Especially from you, because you have a nice design aesthetic, and I know you have video background and experience, and it was definitely a labor of love, and it was I learned a lot through the process. So I wish I had more time to keep recording more episodes, but it was a grind.
It's time consuming, right? It's a time consuming
for a while to record those. We're doing weekly episodes, and I can only keep that up for about 4 months. And I was like, I got to take a break. We got to come back to a little bit.
So I'm gonna, obviously everybody for out there, I'm gonna add that to the YouTube channel in the description. Man. It'll take you guys straight there, because I highly suggest you guys watch that, because then it takes me into your passion though. Your passion is Conquer. For those of you who don't know, talk a little bit about Conquer, Brandon. Where it came from to where it is today, if you don't mind.
So we specialize in home services. That's the thing. Specialize in home services. And, so a home service business owner that's looking to grow and scale, get out of the truck, get out of the car, get off the tools, and build a team, wants to know what systems to put in place, wants education, wants to better understand their finances, their marketing, their sales cycles. That's what we built Conquer. And the biggest part of it that we wanted to implement into it is accountability. People are 65 to 95% more likely to achieve their goals when they tell someone else and that person holds them accountable, and they tie a date to it. So every week on our Conquer calls, we get together in small groups with their coach and literally okay, what did you accomplish last week? Yes or no? Here's my KPIs that I need to report to the group. And it's highly accountable. We have little consequences in that we, are fun and, lighthearted that, people stick to. And it's just a community of like-minded entrepreneurs that look to grow. So if anyone's interested in, learning more, you can go to go.conquernow.com, learn a little bit more about the program. If you're in home services specifically, it's definitely a solid option for you.
Oh, man. Yeah. Again, I would back that up too, because I feel like what you've created is like a framework. And a lot of times, I'll hear from a lot of the commercial siders, right? It's like, Rick, man, I need a playbook. What do I do? People just, if you tell them what to do, and the people that are hungry and driven will do it. At the end of the day, it's up to them. But again, I highly suggest that we have a lot of people from home services that do listen in. Whatever stage you're in, right? Brad, does it matter what stage somebody is in when they're growing their business? To me, I know the answer, but you let me know. Like
The big thing, yeah, the big thing is less about what stage you're in and how hungry you are, more about how hungry you are. So, if you are still on the truck, but you really, really, really want to get out like yesterday, then Conquer's probably for you. We have good fit calls. We don't allow people to just send us a check and just sign up. We do a vetting and application process for anyone that comes into the program, and match you up with a specific coach. So that's another part of it that we really kind of focus on. But best thing to do is just apply and just find out for yourself.
Yeah, and what I love about it, because I wrote this down for myself, is I see the big three always pop up on the site. You just talked about one of them right now, but it's community, clarity, and accountability. What is the community and clarity component of Conquer? I mean, you talked about accountability. What about community and clarity?
Community is obviously being around other entrepreneurs that are looking to grow to 7 figures and beyond and get off the truck, and actually not being so lonely, to not just deal with the Facebook gurus that are like, oh, this is what you should do, but to actually share and sit down with each other. Clarity is really what to focus on next. And that's where the coach comes in. Instead of just like asking your buddy who's just as stuck as you are, hey, what should I do next? Like actually talking to someone that owns a 7-figure business and they say, no, don't do any of this stuff. Like just work on this. So that's the big, part of the clarity component.
All right. Nice, man. Well, offline, we got to talk about doing this for the commercial side, which I think we've talked about a few times ourselves, trying to figure that part out. But so another thing that I want to talk about is I see the issues with, in my opinion, this is something that we can kind of carry off and end the conversation with but Brandon, with the commercial side of the business, sales and staffing. Sales and staffing are always the top two S's that pop up, or top two pain points. Is Rick, I have trouble with sales. I can't get revenue coming in, which I think is the most important part, right? Which I think you'd agree is you can't really focus on operations if you don't have sales coming in. But then I have a sale, Rick. I have contracts. I have business, but now I have trouble staffing. So how can I have to say no to business because I can't staff it? For the past few months, I've been like going back and forth and trying to figure, not solving the problem all in one swift move, but I listen to you, I hear you talk, and there's a third S that could probably solve both, or it will solve, is systems, right? Is it not that there's a secret magic recipe or pill, but how impactful can systems be for sales and staffing, in your opinion?
Dude, I love that you do that. So I actually have like a teeter-totter analogy.
Show it to me.
Where I say on one side you got sales and marketing, one side you got your production, right? You either have so much work coming in that you can't find enough people, or you have too much people and like you have nothing on the schedule for tomorrow, right? It's just like, it's trying to keep that balance. And the pivot point is what I call systems. This is the part that makes it to where it doesn't fall off the rails and like everything collapses and falls apart. Like you as the owner, you'll always be the biggest bottleneck in your company. Period. That's just it.
That's it.
You need to have people. And in order to have people come in and out of your organization without chaos ensuing, systems are, my favorite definition for it is a documented process that shows how to do something important in your business. But documented is the key word. So you may know how to sell a job, talk to a customer. But if it lives up in here, it's not really a system until you document it and write it out in a way that like someone else can come in and be like, oh, this is how I do a sales call. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to clean this office building. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to place ads on Facebook. Or this is how I'm supposed to order toilet paper for the office, like everything. And if you can do that, then it doesn't matter the people that come in and out of your organization because they'll be able to take those systems and repeat the same thing without you having to be involved. So, man, systems are everything. They really are. And the time when I made the most amount of money in my business was when I was behind my computer on my keyboard, creating systems and documents and tools to help my team, repeat and do better. And that was it.
Just rinse and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat.
That's right. Rinse and repeat. That's right, man.
Dude, so we could go on and on, but I think we just nailed.
My meal is empty.
I just opened up my second one. But you guys, We got to wrap it up. We got to come to a close. But I think that was a great closing point, Brandon, because it started with us talking about systems. It ends with us talking about systems, but not just talking about it. I mean, again, man, you dropped a lot of nuggets that cut it, paste it however you want. I hope, and I hope from this conversation, people, implement some of these ideas and concepts Brandon talked about. But
yeah,
I'm gonna include your profile. I know you're gonna be okay with that. But I'm gonna include Brandon's profile, all the information on Conquer, and I get, like I said, the link to the Map to Millions series on YouTube. You guys, if you're looking to grow your business, or just improve your business, right? It's not always about growing and scaling. Just improve your business, get some of that time back in your life. You got to reach out to Brandon, reach out to myself. I'll make the connection. This guy is a great resource. What he's doing for the industry is phenomenal. So Brandon, I just want to say thank you for jumping on with me, talking shop. Again, it's for you guys don't know, it's like noon or 10 o'clock by Brandon, and I'm 2 drinks in, but the days aren't done yet. But thank you, man. Any last words for yourself that you want to leave with everybody?
Don't lie to yourself. Don't lack in execution. Don't stop lying. If you say you're going to do it, you listen to this podcast, you've been invested for 45 minutes. You got all the dopamine hits like, oh man, such good ideas that Ricky was talking about. Like, oh, I got to stop lying, just execute. So don't put it on your to-do list. Put it straight onto your calendar with a date and time when you're going to actually execute on the things you've learned, and execute. Just get it done. Go conquer it. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. Hey, cheers, my friend.
Thanks, Ricky. Have a good one, brother.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.